Hello and welcome all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land. This is a Texas special. I know what you're thinking. Hopper cars again? Seriously? But hold on, let's pump the brakes. Those last hopper cars that we looked at, those was Lionel jobs. These are Weavers. Now, if you've been in the game longer than say 5 minutes, odds are high you know that Weaver is long been out of business, and was actually, a lot of their molding and tooling was actually acquired by Lionel. So these, you could say these are Lionel's, but that wouldn't be 100% true. You have this older style Pullman Standard hopper, and you've got this newer style ACF, I believe is what it's modeled after, covered hopper. These are some more loaners. As you can tell, this Continental Grain Company hopper has been very heavily weathered, to include graffiti, which I don't do either one generally to my trains. Nothing against it, I don't do it. So what load detailing and whatnot you can see on this Continental Grain car is correct. The graffiti does a pretty good job of covering up all the critical car data, as it does in the real world. The grab irons are cast onto the car. There is a noticeable Spartanness to the B end of the car, which you will see here in a second. You can see there that lacks a lot of the fine detailing that the hopper cars we looked at previously had. There is detailing there, which I applaud, but not a whole heck of a lot of it. You see some pretty fairly well executed truck detailing, and the weathering that the owner of this car did to it does help those details kind of pop a little bit more. This car features a thumbtack type magnetic operating knuckle coupler. You can see there the little metal disc for the uncoupling track section to grab a hold of, and also you have this uncoupling tab here on the side of the coupler. These are plastic couplers. The trucks are plastic, the body's plastic. Pretty much everything on this car is plastic except for the little metal disc here, the pin that holds that in place, the axles and the wheels. Everything else on this car is plastic, 100% throughout. So we'll come back this way. Take a look at this MKT covered hopper car. We'll do the same thing, zoom in there. That is the B end of the car. Very, very Spartan. You can see, you might be able to see it. If you can't, don't worry, you will see it very well here shortly. An implied service and emergency reservoir, and the triple valve, no air piston though, no brake piston, and a separately applied handbrake wheel. All these grab irons and everything are cast onto the car, and unfortunately the stirrup steps on the ends of the car are broken off. Frictionless bearing type trucks. I absolutely hate seeing these on modern freight cars because it's wrong. It's inaccurate. This should have 100-ton roller bearing trucks. All of the lettering is very nicely done. All the load and weight information is correct. This car was built new in 1973, which is prototypical. ACF center flow logo, nicely done in the correct spot. The plate C decal here, very nicely done MKT lettering. And looking at the end of the car, the A end of the car there, you can see again the frictionless bearing trucks and more car data information, which again for the most part is correct, and cast on grab irons and the missing stirrup step. Alright, here we are looking at these two cars side by side, the B ends of the cars. You can see the handbrake detail here. You do have a handbrake chain detail that's cast onto the car body. There is no handbrake chain, or yes it is, it's right there. It's just very, very hard to see. It's cast onto this little bracing detail here. You can see the difference is virtually night and day. You have the brake piston here, you have the triple valve detail right here, and you have the air brake service reservoir and emergency reservoir detail right here. You hear me say service and emergency reservoir when I'm talking about these freight cars. So if you look at a air reservoir on a freight car, you'll notice that it's always split in two. There's a reason for that. That is two air reservoirs. You have the one side, which is your service reservoir. That is where normal brake pipe reductions are made to apply and release the brakes under normal circumstances. The other half is the air reservoir, the emergency reservoir. The reason why there are two air reservoirs on one freight car is because, unlike truck air brakes, if there is no air in the system whatsoever, there is no brakes, period. The triple valve in these train brakes on the real things requires air pressure on one side or the other to operate. Otherwise, if the air brakes are completely bled off, there's absolutely zero air in the system, then the car or the cut of cars or the whole train has no air braking capability whatsoever. So if the train goes into emergency, all the air from the emergency reservoir dumps, and the air from the service reservoir holds that triple valve in place to keep the brakes set. If it's a normal brake pipe reduction and the train stops, then the air from the service reservoir is released to the appropriate pressure, and the air pressure from the emergency reservoir holds that triple valve in the appropriate spot to keep brakes applied at the desired PSI. So when you hear me talk about service reservoir and emergency reservoir, that's what I'm talking about. Going back to these cars, you can see a car number here in the appropriate spot. There is no car number on the end of this. If there was, it would be either here or here. You have more cast on ladders, bracing detail, cast on crossover platform / brake perch. And you can see here some cast on, the end of the cast on catwalk on this Continental grain car, and the catwalk on the MKT car is separately applied, but it is one piece. Neither one of these are see-through grates for the rooftop catwalk, which you'll see here momentarily. Alright, here we have the boring old A end of the cars. Nothing going on here, no brake details, no nothing, just there's the cars. You've got the cast on ladders and bracings, but that's pretty much it, other than the car number right here. Okay, so first we're taking a look at the roof of the Continental grain car. As I said, this is cast onto the body, or at least appears to be. It is not a see-through grate, and you also have 4 hatches, rooftop hatches, covering the loading ports. And little cast on grab irons here and here. All right, here we are looking at the roof of the MKT hopper car. You can see 4 hatches covering the, the loading areas. This plastic catwalk here is all one piece, and as I said earlier, it is not see-through. If I stick this pencil lead down there, you can't see it. So, and cast on grab iron detail here and here, just like the Continental grain car. These are older cars, which ain't a bad thing. They are fairly decently loaded with detail given the overall picture. Again, my only ding is against that MKT hopper with the frictionless bearing style trucks instead of the appropriate 100-ton roller bearing trucks. But that, my friends, that is an easy fix. All you got to do, these are held on by screws, unscrew them, swap them out. Now if this was my car, that's what I would be doing, but since these are loaners, I'm not touching it. I've got a train made up here on main 2 that I will admit is not 100% era appropriate for these cars, but who cares, y'all? We're running toy trains on 3-rail track, so I'm gonna slide this bad boy onto the rear of this train I got made up on main number 2, and let's have some fun. These cars are rated for 031. They will handle 031 curvature. So if you have tight curves and you find some of these, they were made in multiple road names, not just these 2. If you find any of these old Weaver Pullman Standard type hopper cars, or these later in Weaver years ACF center flow hoppers, you got a small little 4x8 or whatever, and your tightest curve and your most broad curvature is 031 or 036. Fear not, you are not stuck out. You can run these cars too. So I'm going to shut the hell up and throw these guys on the train, and let's get her fired up.